Nvidia just reported earnings, and we're going to go over exactly what's happening here because you're not getting the greatest reaction. You're not getting an explosive 140 all-time high move, but you're still getting a good overall bit of upside despite the weakness in the entire market, which we have to discuss right now. So Nvidia here in the after hours, we've seen a little bit of a whipsaw. You can see we popped up into highs of around 136. We dropped down to lows of 128, and now we're kind of sitting around 133. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think this is going to be the mega saving grace of the market. I'll tell you right now. But I think earnings here provide a thesis for Nvidia that looks really good overall. The first few things we'll jump into is what's happening with earnings and what's happening with the data that was released. Near the end of January, we got this report that Blackwell GPUs were said to deliver around $9 billion in Q4 worth of revenue. Now, Nvidia once again overdoes themselves, and they produced around $11 billion of Blackwell architecture revenue in Q4. Now, it's worth mentioning that the earnings that were delivered to us from Nvidia was it was about $1 billion. It was still good. It was still really good. Don't get me wrong. But it's worth mentioning that the numbers that came out here were 39.3 versus 38 billion. Now, I still would have liked to see us come out at a flat overall $40 billion of revenue, but it's still good. The company still looks pretty amazing overall, right? You go a little bit deeper, you see what's happening here as well. You get a breakdown of that overall revenue, and you continue to see the overall massive beats on revenue, right? Now, I will say nothing else is really rising for the company except the data centers. The data centers is the dark horse, it's the beast, and it's just growing at the same rate. Every quarter, 4 billion, 10 billion, 14, 18. It's around 4 to 5 billion of growth quarter after quarter after quarter. Now, the question, though, is did this quarter change everything, and can we start to see this accelerate faster? But it also comes to that point of when you're climbing that trend of growth, it's not, you can't expect to grow at the same rate always. That's just not realistic, right? That's not a realistic possibility. So you do expect it to eventually just hit like a standstill. So at the very least, what they're doing with Blackwell and the production that they're able to get it to may have created a system where they can continue to ramp up production and fulfill the demand issue that they had. So they had a lot of demand. There was just a supply issue that they had there. So that's what's happening right now. And the question is how much does this continue? Now, we are seeing out of China, and I read that report to you guys yesterday, is that China is really hammering home the H100 chips and what DeepSeek was pushing there. I didn't really get anything from their earnings regarding that. If I get anything, I'll update you on Twitter so you guys can see it there. But again, this is what I'm looking at primarily. The next thing forward from this was going into what they're doing free cash flow. Again, very impressive. For basically last year, they did around 26.9 billion in free cash flow. In 2024, they did 60.7. Pretty amazing year-over-year growth. And again, this goes to show that they're not just making money and they're not just, spending money to make money. They're kind of just printing money as we speak. And this is really what you want to see from these large cap companies, especially when you're in an area of where the market could be going into a recession potentially, right? Or there's all these restraints as far as spending, as far as getting loans. And when you have a restrictive market like we have with where interest rates are, you need a lot of cash on hand. So my question really comes back down to two things for continued growth on Nvidia. Number one, can they start generating another area besides just data centers? That's my first thing. I don't think the market really cares about that right now, but that's just my long-term thinking about the company, because eventually this number is going to stall. Like, it has to. Now, again, they can go another year, right? They're dominating the data center market. They're killing everybody in the game. Like, AVGO's close little runner-up, but not really, right? So that's the important part. The other part of this is you look at a name like AMD, right? And everyone's like, well, do we buy AMD? Is AMD a sympathy play? Is it a great name? I'm like, no, AMD is kind of dog shit, right? That's why AMD over the past 6 months is just going straight down. Like, granted, Nvidia is kind of stalling at highs, but we'll go into why that's such a valuable play. But the reason why, AMD looks this way and Nvidia looks the way it is and hasn't really sold off is because of the growth here, right? AMD is not doing this on growth. They're growing they'll pop up $1 billion and they'll drop down $1 billion. It's just, there's no consistency. That's the difference of the companies. And you can disagree with me all day long, but that's just the facts. Now, the most impressive thing from Nvidia's earnings. This is the most impressive thing that is just It's just crazy. Like, it really is. It's this number right here. You have your revenue, you have your operating income, your net income, EPS. It's all good. It's all great. But it's this little number right here. Gross margin of 75%. And then you have your growth on your gross margin over the past year. They have been able to increase the margins that they're making. Now, it's worth mentioning, when we saw Nvidia dip 2 earnings ago, I think it was right here. Yeah, back here, August 27, 26, right? You dipped because margins dropped slightly. It's worth mentioning. I think it dropped down to like 73.8% is where we were at, okay? Now, they were able to get that number back up. And so now they're at 75% flat on their gross margins average between all their products. That is insanity. That is, I don't know how they're doing it. I really don't, right? But again, their numbers continue to prove impressive. And that number in itself, that they're able to create more profit margins for themselves despite already having great margins, is just a testament to the company. So again, what you would like to see, if I had to point to anything, is can they get revenue from other areas? Can they generate new systems for this? We'll see, right? Are data centers slowing down? I wouldn't say that they're slowing down because you're growing faster than you grew last quarter. Worth mentioning, just overall revenue-wise, okay? The stock price right now, again, you're seeing a little bit of upside. I think the expected move was 8.5%. So again, you're at 1.8%. So congratulations if you traded options. Didn't work out. But again, I still think Nvidia looks good long-term. Still a great overall name. But again, I don't think this was the market savings earnings that you needed, right? I think you needed to be over 40 billion. They just had to be crazy. They had to be priced to perfection. Still a great name, still a great stock, just not going to just save the market on its own. Now, going into the NASDAQ, and I'll have a video later going over why the market's dropping, and I'll tell you right now it's because Trump's tariffs. He announced a 25% tariff on the entire EU today, and he categorized that as on automobiles and other things, his words, not mine. So that should be fun. So we'll go over that later, but going into Nvidia and what's happening here on the chart, again, right now, short term, you're still making lower highs. I still think Nvidia is probably the best stock in the market, next to maybe Apple. Apple had a bit of a retrace on the day, but overall here, you still look really good. Once you're able to reclaim your previous high back here from June, right? Back above 140.7, I'm looking for a break of structure into the uptrend. You'll also break your lower high trend here as well when that happens. So again, I like where this is. I'm fine with this right now. The area of concern right now, though, is do buyers step back into the market? Do buyers step back into NASDAQ? Do tariffs continue to cause pain? Because for what it's worth, today wasn't the greatest day. I will say you were looking like a pretty decent bounce, as you can see here on NQ, and then the tariff news came out and you dropped basically 400 points in a matter of 2 hours. So I think the weakness is still there. The question is can you hold a 21K down here near these lows here on NASDAQ? And that's where you're at currently right now. So big questions, continuation, what's happening here, what's moving forward. But ultimately, that's where you're at right now. Again, do you break below? Semiconductors as a whole don't look amazing. I will say when you look at names like AVGO, they're finding some buyers. You were near 100 MA down here and you're 200 on AVGO. You got really close. You basically bounce out of this area, bouncing back up. But if sellers start to step back in, if we start to dip back down, I am very, very concerned. Now, a few things I'll add in, guys. If you guys are interested in joining the Discord, I have to just notify you guys if you're interested. People always ask about this. This is where we do all of our trades, everything along those lines. Again, this is not something I would say to join if you're just looking for signals. I would not ever say to do that. I don't think that's what we're used for. We try to provide, number one, trades that we do like, trades that we do enter, but it's also to give you basically a roadmap every single day in the market for what we're looking for. Again, today, for a great example, going into NASDAQ, again, I gave you an example yesterday, but today, NASDAQ came back in. What we were expecting chop for a better part of the day. NVIDIA earnings after hours, so it could be back and forth with chop, which you did chop basically all day long until tariffs were announced. The big concerns, what's happening with futures. The big trade on the day again was Tesla. Jordan, which posts his watch list every morning, 8 a.m. right there, as you can see. Tesla, we're looking for down below $300.13. We're looking for 294, 283, and then the 200 SMA. You go look at Tesla. What happened? Again, it was the big winner on the day. You got below $300, as you can see there, and you dropped straight down to 289, working your way down towards 283. So again, everything that we do throughout the day is mentioned there as well. Different charts as well. We looked at AVGO to the upside, things along those lines. So again, it's there for you if you are interested. The link is down below. Twitter link is also there for you guys as well. But as we go into tomorrow, I mean, Nvidia, the things you want to see in the short term, get back above your 100-day moving average, hold above 136.5, start working your way back into 140.7. Again, earnings were good. I don't think this saves the market. If tariffs are still net bearish, which I think they are, I think we probably have some downside in the works for us. But I will say now more than ever, these earnings provide a viewpoint that Nvidia is still a buy on all these dips. And if by some chance you get below the 200 SMA, I'm looking for big buys. Now, you might get a decent sized dip. I would be praying for this. Major supports. I don't think we're going down there right now, but if big selling occurs, looking for $98 to $100 once again as a major buy level for myself, possibly even towards 107, 105 as well. We're not there yet, so there's no reason to jump to those conclusions, but I have to prepare you for the sell side if it does step in. A few things as well. I mentioned SMCI yesterday in the semiconductor space. Again, I said I didn't like the 10K filing. You can go watch that video, and I got a lot of hate for what I said on that video. But guys, you guys know, when it comes to this channel, when it comes to stocks in general, I'm going to tell you what I like. I'm going to tell you what I hate. And these are the comments that I got. And it's not me being upset. I'm just telling you, like I said, this is for me. I was voicing concern. I am not short on SMCI right now, although below the 200 SMA, it looks like a short, but people get emotional with stocks. I'm not emotional. This is my viewpoints. Again, below the 200 SMA, I told you that 10K filing was terrible. It was a terrible report. The company does not seem legit. It seems sketchier than ever. Be very careful. Above the 200 SMA, I think it's a long. Below it, I'd be looking for downside back down towards $44, then $38. That's my personal opinion. If you have questions, comment down below. Overall, the only semiconductors that really look strong here, AVGO, Nvidia, top dogs right now. You could get behind possibly ASML as well. I would like to see TSM start to get back above the 100 in May, then back above 202 to be bullish there. But as of right now, this is where we're at. I think you're still looking for downside across the board. That's my personal opinion. If you have questions, let me know down below. Ask on Twitter as well. Can probably post a chart on there for you. But have a good one, traders.